Hey everybody, so Jamie here from NutriTri, and you might know me as the Triathlon Nutrition Coach on Facebook and Instagram and what else, Twitter, yeah, all over the social media, and you might even receive my emails from the Triathlon Nutrition Coach. Anyway, I'm Jamie from NutriTri, that's my website, and today we're going to talk about breakfasts for triathletes. Now, breakfast is a controversial subject, as we know. Some people think you shouldn't have breakfast. Some people think it's the most important meal of the day. And as always, neither is right or wrong. It's all about making breakfast, or any meal for that matter, fit your circumstances. So I'm going to run through a couple of different scenarios. Firstly, I will say that in my view, breakfast is a really important meal, because I think if you start the day off eating a good, healthy, nutritious and filling breakfast, then you're less likely to go off the rails later on. I used to have an office job and I didn't used to eat breakfast, and what used to happen was I'd go to work about 10:30, 11 o'clock, maybe have a cup of coffee, someone would nip to the bakery, come back with some toast. Big chunks of bread, loads of margarine probably, smeared all over it, quite nice. Clearly not an optimal meal, certainly if you're doing sport, well, even if you're not doing sport. So, that's why eating breakfast is really important. I'll run through a couple of scenarios that you're probably likely familiar with. So, some people will get up early to train. So if they're getting up early to train, clearly they're not going to get up an extra hour early to make a full breakfast, allow it to digest and then go for a run. So if you're getting up early, I would suggest that it's probably better to train fasted, or at least relatively fasted. And if that session is less than an hour, then you'll be fine, especially if the last meal of the previous day was well balanced and full of calories and carbs, proteins and fat. So you go to bed having had that meal, you wake up the next day, you've not burned that much energy whilst you're asleep, so you should have relatively full energy stores and you can go out and smash the session. Now, alternatively, some people don't like to train completely fasted, which I get, a bit of a psychological thing probably, but I wouldn't do that either. So what I do if I'm going to get up early and train is I have a cup of coffee, and usually like a handful of nuts. I'm making this video in the kitchen because I'm a nutrition coach, and lo and behold, what have we got here? A few almonds and cashews. So I would have a handful of them fellas for my breakfast, maybe even an apple and a coffee. That's not going to sit heavy. It takes me 5 minutes to eat and drink it, and then you can crack on. And what you've given yourself is obviously a little bit of fat, carbs, protein, and some caffeine obviously to help wake you up and make you perform well in the session. If you do that, so if you train fasted or having had something very small like I've just described, then obviously what's really important is then once you finish the session, you get a proper breakfast. So I'll go on to talk about a couple of other scenarios, and I'll discuss the proper breakfast in those scenarios. So if you're training later in the day, what we can then do is obviously we've got much more time, so we can have a much more balanced, well-rounded, filling breakfast. So for me, what that needs to be is a good mixture of protein, carbs and fats. So, personally, what I always have is eggs, usually 3, either scrambled or I make an omelette. I'll have an apple again, cup of coffee and a couple of rounds of toast. Now the toast that I quite like, just bear with me. You can tell I'm new to this, is this sort of stuff. So it's kind of rye bread, oh wrong way, wrong way around. Wholemeal rye bread, this is Aldi's finest. Slice this, got about 140 calories. Obviously it's, what have we got in here? Where's the label? Well yeah, 140 calories, plenty of carbs, sort of 30 grams of carbs, 3.5 protein, a little bit of fat, fibre. So quite filling as well. more filling than a standard bread. Sorry, I just disappeared. I need to work on this, don't I? Anyway. So 3 eggs, bit of butter on my toast, 2 slices of toast, an apple, and that's usually enough for me. I weigh about 70 kilos, so obviously if you're heavier than that, you probably need to eat a little bit more. If you're lighter than that, you probably need to eat a little bit less. So that's quite easy to manage, and that breakfast gives you a really nice balance of protein, carbs and fats. It's filling, it's going to set you up for the day, and you shouldn't get too hungry mid-morning and then do what I used to do and go and get a big chunk of toast from the bakery. Okay, let's talk about if you don't train. So on days that you don't train at all, and this will depend on what your goals are, but likely you're keeping some sort of eye on your body composition, or you should be, I suppose. So let's talk about if you don't train and you're trying to lose a little bit of weight. What I would do is definitely reduce the amount of calories I have for my breakfast. If you don't train and trying to maintain weight, definitely reduce the amount of calories you have for your breakfast. If you don't train and trying to gain weight, eat more calories. So good ideas there. For me personally, again, I would always have, oh, bear with me again. What would I have? Here we go. I would have some Greek yogurt, about 200 grams, probably sling a scoop of whey, or maybe half a scoop. I'd probably have a few nuts, and I might have an apple again. So the calories there are like almost half what I would be having if I was having eggs and toast. So the reason for that is you don't need the calories on the day that you're not training, so you can allow yourself to reduce them, and also it builds in a little bit of slack. So you know, maybe if you're going out for lunch or something, you need to reduce the amount of calories you have for your breakfast. So that is a lower calorie breakfast, but again with a reasonable balance. It's quite high protein, especially if you stick a scoop of protein powder, and you can have a breakfast which is sort of 30-40 grams of protein, which is quite a lot, and relatively low carb from the apple and the nuts, a bit of fat from the nuts. But yeah, a decent breakfast. Again, it won't fill you up as much as the eggs, but it's not meant to, you don't need it to. So yeah, that's a good option. So let's go back to the training early crowd. If you're training early and you go fasted, then ideally what you would do is come home and then maybe have that egg breakfast that I described earlier with the toast and the apple and the coffee. However, if you're not going home, you're going to work, it will obviously depend on your setup at work. You might be able to make some scrambled eggs in the microwave and have a couple of slices of toast and an apple at your desk. That might be an option. If it's not, then good options there are to have something like a smoothie. So you can make that smoothie either before you go training and take it with you and then have it in the car on the way to work, or you can make it the night before, depending on what you put in it. So again, what matters is that that smoothie has a good balance of protein, carbs and fats. So good ideas would be, say half a pint of milk. That could be cow's milk, almond, coconut, oat, whatever you want. Almond and coconut and oat and all that sort of stuff will probably have less calories than the cows, unless you have skimmed or semi-skimmed. I would always suggest just having full fat. So yeah, half a pint of milk-ish. I would stick a scoop of protein powder in there. I would stick some frozen fruit in there. I would stick a banana in there. And I'd stick maybe a little bit of olive oil or some nut butter in there. So again, what you're getting is a good balance of protein, carbs and fats. Same old thing. But it's in a different format. You can drink it in the car easily. You can take it to work and sit at your desk. You don't have to make something in the microwave, so there's none of that awkwardness that you might have stinking the office out with eggs or whatever it might be that you worry about. So yeah, I think that's pretty solid advice, to be honest. And yeah, if you've got any questions or comments, obviously post them below. This is what I'm meant to say, apparently. Oh, and the other thing you meant to say is, if you haven't already, like and subscribe. Okay, anyway, I hope that's helpful to you. I'm going to be making some more of these videos, so yeah, if you do genuinely do like and subscribe, I'd be grateful. Alright, cheers, bye.